and welcome to a new podcast. I can't wait for you to dive in today because if you've ever felt like you weren't part of a community, like you never fit in a certain place, or maybe you just have that imposter syndrome, then today's episode is the best you could have clicked on because my guest has lived it through all, and he talks about it and the huge perseverance that he's had, not only during his talk, but also in the book that he very kindly sent over and shipped over to me. So I can't wait to begin. Let's do so.
Hey, it's Sonia, and welcome to the SMARTA Podcast.
Today's guest is Jonathan Conyers. He's been featured on The Kelly Clarkson Show, Fox News, NBC News. His top 3 key takeaways of today's episode are: you should make sure to have a village. Villages are so important and you need to have one. Number 2 is all around the idea of forgiveness. You can't choose your family. You can't choose where you grew up in and what your experiences are, but you can choose how they shape you. And number 3 is everything is going to be all right. Everything is meant for you, and whatever your passion is, if you stay consistent to it, you will achieve it. I'm going to go ahead and read you a little bit of the introduction because I think it's so powerful to set the tone for today's episode. The very beginning of the book begins by, there is an African proverb that says, it takes a village to raise a child. I like to say that it took a whole army to raise me because my village was so large, so strategic, and ready to fight for me and my well-being. The proverbial village that comes together to raise a child is usually made up of aunties, neighbors, and teachers, and then he goes on to say that my village is a chosen village. And then he goes on later to say that I had to build the village myself. From the age of 11, I knew instinctively I had to start assembling my village if I wanted to survive my circumstances. And then the takeaway of it is that I learned at an early age that people who could help me survive and thrive don't have to look like me or share the same background. Some of them even continue to participate in my life. I even had some random strangers who passed through with words of wisdom or sage advice and are counted as honorary village members. If you want to know more about Jonathan Conyers' journey and how he met Deco, which was his debate teacher, and how he overcame all the adversities that came through his way, make sure to pick up this book. Let me present you more about Jonathan Conyers. He's an author, an entrepreneur, a respiratory therapist, a debate coach, and a motivational speaker. He's best known for his memoir, I Wasn't Supposed to Be Here, which chronicles his journey from a challenging childhood in the Bronx to becoming a leader in education, in media, and in healthcare. Born to parents struggling with addiction, Jonathan faced adversity, including housing instability and early academic struggles. Through mentorship, resilience, and the power of debate, he transformed his life and graduated from Stony Brook University with a degree in respiratory theory and a minor in writing. Jonathan worked on the front lines during the COVID-19 pandemic, and he continues to use his experience to inspire others. He's the founder of Conyers Media, a storytelling and media platform, and the co-founder of the Brooklyn Debate League, which is a nonprofit dedicated to giving undeserved youth access to speech and debate opportunities. Now, through his writing, speaking, and mentorship, he inspires others to overcome adversity, find their voice, and embrace the transformative power of education and community. Are you ready? Now, just before we begin, if you're new to the podcast, hi, welcome. I'm Sonia. This is a show started by me, a teenager, that already published a book that was just trying to figure out the questions as I grew older because I was naturally a very curious child, to see how CEOs and people very far up in their career ladder got to where they are. And I unpack their stories and give you the practical tools and habits to lead them through it. If you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel or followed the show, please do so and rate this podcast episode 5 stars because it's going to help us grow. And I just can't wait to see how many new things you can learn from me. Let's go. Jonathan Conyers, are you ready to get smarter?
Yeah, let's do this.
Amazing. I cannot believe I'm speaking with you. You are the author of the memoir, I Wasn't Supposed to Be Here. Thank you so much for shipping this through. If you can talk directly with a person listening right now, what would you say are the top 3 most important things you will share in today's discussion?
Yeah, I think number 1 would be making sure you have a village. The power of basically like community and leaning on others, which I think, I'm in America. We have some issues right now. And I think community is a big problem we're facing. And I think my book speaks towards that. Like you're not in this alone. right? You have a team, you have community. And sometimes people in your community may not be the people that you always look up to or you think that is the right person. You can learn lessons from people
Mm.
that's also doing the wrong things. Number two would be forgiveness. I talk a lot about my family, talk a lot about friends, and I'm
Mhm.
very honest, I think, in my book. And, it's my
Yeah.
personal feelings. I always want to make sure people understand that that is my viewpoint. Everybody have their side to the story, but that's just how I felt in those moments. So I think a lot of people may think, oh, John has something against his parents or certain people throughout the book. But in reality, I love everybody. It's just moments and times and trying to really dig deep into your feelings in those moments. So forgiveness is very important. Um, and third, is just everything is a learning moment. I always like to use the term bittersweet. When people say, oh, you went through something so tough or you went through something that's horrendous, I always say every moment is bittersweet. And the reason why it's bittersweet is that even through the pain, you can learn something. You can gain something out of that moment. And that's just the viewpoint I've always tried to take. There are some things that's just so bad that there's probably nothing to learn from. I'm aware of that. But in my life, even in the dark days, I try to learn from it. And, I try to figure out how does this make me a better person or how do I need to reflect to gain some type of knowledge from this situation.
I love those three because I just came from an interview on YouTube that I found of you, and you actually did mention that one of your favorite words ever is bittersweet. So I'm happy that you touched upon that. And can I just say a sentence that really shook me right from the introduction of your book? As soon as I opened and flipped over the page, I had to underline this. It was fantastic. And it's this that my village members taught me how to act, how to be, and how to handle myself. They protected me, loved me, and kicked me in the butt when I started to lose my way. And growing up, I think with my mom being both my harshest critic and my biggest fan, I think having both sides really is necessary to keep you grounded in what can go a life around sometimes. So I want to take you to your childhood and
Yeah.
ask you, how did you protect your self-belief when the whole world had the odds against you?
Yeah. I think I'm a dreamer, you know. I always think that, when you grow up in tough environments and you lack certain resources and you really don't know how the world look and you're just stuck in these walls and you think this is the world, this is what God has for me, and you don't know how to break out of that cycle. I think the only way to get out of it is to really have this faith or this belief, with no understanding, with no connection to it, of this something has to be better out there. A lot of times when you read my book, early on, everybody always said I smiled. Even through harsh things as a baby, I was just always laughing and smiling. And I would like to think God gave you this certain type of mindset or personality to always believe that there's something better out there because, I always believe that your book is already written. Everybody has a book in them. I just say like, hey, I just turned 31. I'm living in chapter 31 of my book, right? And in chapter 31, you know, my eyes is open. I got to see more, and I'm excited to see what chapter 40 looks like. Even though I know I got to keep walking in front of me, but I know chapter 40 is better. I know there's things in my life that I haven't seen, or I can't visualize, or I can't even imagine having. That's gonna happen one day. So just always believing, always having faith, always staying grounded, and knowing that there's better days out there. Um, and I'm
Mhm.
happy I kept that mindset because I got to live some of those dreams. So I'm very thankful for that.
Mhm. 100%. I'm a big believer in, mindset can change a lot of things for you if you just shift your perspective. I want to take you now to the very end of the book because you mentioned how important it was for you to find mentors and guides along the way to get you to the finish line. For teens who haven't found their mentor yet, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, I say it will come. And I also would say that a lot of people tell me, hey, I haven't found my mentor because there's nobody who look like me. There's somebody who come from the same zip code I come from or the same country I come from. So my first advice would be look harder because there's a mentor all around you. They exist. You go to school every day. There are teachers, there's cafeteria individuals, the janitor. There's so many people in there that could be a mentor. A mentor doesn't have to mean that they have a lot of money or they work in the same field you want to be in or they look like you or they have the same sex or same identity as you. A lot of times throughout
Mhm.
my book, my mentors are people that you would never assume that a young black kid struggling in the inner city in New York will be in contact with. From white women, from, people that were Catholic, people that were Jewish, and all these different people from all different walks of life that wasn't black men or just wasn't even black at all, was guideposts in my life and was able to lead me and teach me things that I needed, that just was gonna make me a well-rounded individual in the first place. So I think a lot of times when people are looking for mentors, they're trying to look for somebody who look like them, who share all the same beliefs, ideologies in them, and that's not how this works. A mentor is simply a person who just want to lead you into the right direction or give you some type of knowledge that can keep you going forward. So I always say to young youth, pay attention to who you're seeking as your mentor. Don't have an expectation. Just listen. Just open your ears and listen, and that person will find you. And if you don't, they're coming. I wouldn't probably say the word mentor, but there are people you can learn from who are probably doing the wrong things in your neighborhood, who is living a life that you think, hey, this is not a life I want to live. And sometimes looking at their circumstances, and I don't want to mean it to say like prey on the weak or like, oh, you're doing bad, I don't want to be you, but like pay attention to habits that people have and look at the outcomes of their life, right? We are people who learn from behavior. And if somebody is constantly in situations you don't want to be in, look at their patterns, look at the mistakes they're making, and say, hey, this is not what I want for my life. I'm not going to make those same choices. So also, when people do wrong by you, if there's a bully, if there's somebody harming you, look deeper, look to why they're doing it, look to how it makes you feel. And I always say that people that go through a lot of pain and trauma, who need guidance, who need mentor, we typically do two things. Either you enact pain on others, or you spend your life making sure people don't feel that way because you don't want nobody to feel the pain you had to go through. And I pray people on the other side of it, like me, who wants to give into the world, who wants to help, because I don't want people to feel the things I felt. So, you know, learn from those people too. Take those lessons and use it to make you more grounded. Use it to be mindful. Don't let it build hate. Don't let it build anger. So mentors and people you can model are on both sides. Some will be positive, some will be negative, some will do wrong by you. And you just got to take all of these things and understand that they're all lessons in life.
And a mentor is
Never
very
personal. Yeah, I always tell
yeah.
people it's never personal. People actions or things that people do is never personal. Just try to make it not personal and learn from it.
hmm hmm I agree, and I think mentor is very personal. But then if we look over to, for instance, Erin Meyer's work with her book, The Culture Map, if we take it to an even higher level to companies and workplaces, having people working together from different backgrounds with different experiences really is where all the innovation lies. I think it's honestly quite where magic happens and where the magic lies.
Yeah.
So when you were in grade 8, you had the choice to get your freedom back, but you had to pick up an after school activity. In interviews, it came across accidentally, actually, that you came across Deco, your debate coach, and that you took up debating. So I want to ask you, how in particular did learning to argue, to think, and to use your voice teach you about confidence and leadership?
Oh man, the act of speaking and communication is one of the most important things you can do. Going into spaces and knowing you have worth, going into spaces and feeling safe and feeling like I can use my voice. My voice is a gift. My story is a gift. It's not something that defines me. It's just something I had to live through, or it's something that's just a part of who I am. Was so life changing for me. And yes, it built confidence.
Mm,
I always say the most important gift we can give people right now is the power of their voice and the power of their story. Teaching
mm,
people how to have discourse, teaching people how to
yeah,
communicate. Right now, we don't know how to talk to each other. And specifically, I know you have an audience in Romania. I'm probably talking more about America, but in our country, a lot of people have forgot how to talk to each other, and how
yeah,
people who have different ideas, who come from different walks of life, how can we just sit down and just communicate and realize
yeah,
that there's a lot of common themes in our pain, despite if we have different beliefs, despite if we're a different color, despite all these things that hold us back from having real good dialogue, and debate in particular, and learning how to speak, learning how to communicate, learning how to go and advocate for my community changed my life. And I guess it did give me a confidence. I really don't feel anxiety speaking in any room because I've learned it and I trained it and I've made myself
yeah,
uncomfortable for years in my youth to practice it so it could translate over into my adult life. But it definitely has probably allowed me to be able to do public speaking at a high rate, be able to write a book and do a tour and do all of these things, because discourse is everything. And I know public speaking is number one fear in the world. Typically is always rated as one of the number one fears in the world. But, it's something that we have to do, and we desperately have to do it now, because if we stop talking to each other, we stop listening to each other, we stop seeing each other as people, um, we're in for some rough times. So yes, confidence, discourse, communication, it's everything.
Mhm. What would you say, to bring you back to my age now? I'm 17. What would be some practical ways I can start developing my voice, my way of arguing, my confidence?
Yeah, so one, you got to go to www.brooklyndebateleague.org and use all the free resources on my
Hold on. I'm doing
company's
it right.
website, Brooklyn Debate League.
Yeah.
So yeah. No, one thing I would say is, one, start journaling, right? What's your story? Start figuring out your story. Start diving deep into moments that you think shaped you and made Sonia who she is, right?
Mm,
And once you get a real good grasp and understanding of yourself, understanding of the things around you, understanding of the world, it allows you to speak with more confidence. A lot of people have trouble speaking because they feel like they have nothing to say. They feel like they
yeah.
don't bring things to the table. A lot of their anxiety is driven by insecurities, or I am not enough, or I'm not good enough. You typically
Mm,
see most of people we deem as great speakers are educators, right? Or people who are
mhm,
well read, or people who we respect, or people who are experts at topics, right? Or authors
yeah.
or writers, or people who have this fond imagination. And I think all of those things translate. So it really starts with understanding your story. It really starts with understanding your worth. It really starts to understanding that you are here for a reason, right? And
Yeah.
God, whatever you believe in, I'm gonna say God put you here for a reason, and that you have
Mm,
something to give to this world. You have something to give, that there are tons of people who probably need this podcast, who need us to have this conversation. And if you
mm,
change one life, you've did your job for humanity. That's what I believe. So, one is just understanding what's around you, understanding your talking points, being well read, read. I advocate that to all you. A lot of times when I'm in a classroom, I actually teach at 215. When I'm in a
mhm,
classroom and everybody's like, "Oh, I want to debate. I like to argue." And it's like, no, let's learn first. Let's talk about the
yeah.
government. Let's talk about our rights. Let's talk about the Constitution. Let's talk about things happening around us. Let's look at what's going on in other countries. And once kids start getting confident about their knowledge, about what they know, they start to speak
Mm,
more. Think about the kid that raised their hand in class the other day. Why are they constantly raising their hand? Why do they constantly want to participate? Because they feel like they know the answer. They feel like they have something positive to say.
mm,
So once you can get over that anxiety, once you know that your voice matters, which all of our voices matter, that's the first step. And the second step is using all the free resources at the brooklyndebateleague.org that teaches you how to
Thanks.
debate, that teaches you all these amazing things.
Mm, yeah, absolutely. Can I say, I'm so curious to know, when your Humans of New York campaign in May 2022 went viral, what was the first thing that happened that crossed your mind when you saw that you were raising over $1 million
Oh my
for your
God,
Brooklyn
Sonia,
debate?
I'm gonna tell you the truth. I don't think I've ever publicly told anybody. I cried. Um, I didn't even know the money was really happening, I'm being honest. Like, I was getting
Yeah.
texts from Deco, and I'm like, the last thing I
Mm,
cared about was the money. I had no intention of actually being a part of the Brooklyn Debate League. Like, yes, it was an idea. Yes, it was something that I was a part of, but it was really Deco's baby. It was really something that Deco cared about. I work
yeah.
in medicine, if you know about me. A lot of people don't know, but yeah, I work for a big time hospital in New York, in the NICU, and that was really my passion. COVID was happening, so as a person who worked with the lungs, it was a lot of other things just happened in my life. But when it dropped, I was so emotional because the internet is the internet, right?
Yeah.
And the first thing you don't do when you're having a viral moment and the whole world is talking about you is you don't read the comments. And I went to the comments, and I could not find a negative comment. I couldn't find negative. It was a check mark that my story meant something.
Yeah.
It was a check mark that my story was powerful, that people
Mm,
resonated with it, that people seen me, that people seen us.
mm,
You talk
mhm,
about a black man growing up in the inner city, and a trans Catholic individual who went through a lot, who had their own problems and own struggles. In some way, we find each other and create something that is helping so many people. It just doesn't happen. Two communities that people try to put at odds against each other, the Black community and trans community. And it was just a beautiful story that was even more beautiful when I read it, even though I lived the story. Like, it's my life every day, right? Deco's texting me right now, like, can we meet? Right? And it's like, but just to read it and just realize how beautiful it is. Sometimes when you're
Yeah.
in the moment and you're going through the motions and you're just living your life every day, and you just really passionate about what you do, you're not really realizing the impact. It always takes months for a kid to come back to me like, you did that, and it's like, yeah, I had no intention behind it. It's just who I am and what I want for the world. But it was really breathtaking, and it was sad. I think actually it was so weird. Like, I am such an open person, as you can see in the book. I really don't care too
Yeah.
much about opinions. I just always try to do everything with the right intentions and the right heart, and let the world take over and create the opinion for it. But I was just like, why would you do this? Like, why would you share all these vulnerable moments? Like, I was thinking about my brother in that moment. I was thinking about all these individuals, and I really didn't know how to grasp it. And then when I woke up the next morning, you see all the DMs, your followers are going up like crazy on Instagram and Facebook. And then, Deco calls like, yo, it's $1.3 million. And I'm like, hold on. I've been crying because I told the world my business. What? We got what? It's like, what? And
How
then
much?
it went into full anxiety mode, because it's like, we know how to be good people, but learning how to run a
Yeah.
company is two different things. So you definitely felt the pressure.
You put
And
too much pressure.
yeah,
Yeah.
now it's 501c. You got to find lawyers. And then that's the power of humans in New York, because even all of those things we got stressed about, the internet did it for us. Lawyers reached out. We'll do this pro bono. People started to create a board that were famous, like, everything just kept working itself out, working itself out, working itself out. And this is the perfect time to do the interview. So Saturday, we just got back from Yale University, and we took over 40 kids, the biggest trip we ever have done at the Brooklyn Debate League. And one of our seniors just got a full ride to Yale that week on December 1st. One of our other seniors just
Wow.
got a full ride to Duke University, and the BDL
Wow.
is doing so amazing right now. In the novice division, we came in first and third place. If you don't know what novice means in Romania, that means freshmen, younger kids. And in our
Yeah.
top division, varsity, like if you're playing soccer or anything,
Yeah.
we basically came in, I think, like second, fifth, sixth, eighth. Like, we did really well. And to bring
Wow.
a whole charter bus of kids from over 6 different schools throughout the inner city of New York City, and for them to have the amazing week and the amazing moment they had was just breathtaking. So it brought me back to 2002, and when I was at Yale and I got to compete in debate, which was life changing for me. So it was a full circle moment. And yeah, yeah,
Can we get a high five? I
high
just feel like
five.
this needs to get celebrated.
Yeah.
This is fabulous. Congratulations. I just the perfect example to show how much a community matters and how much just one person can change and create this ripple effect to so many others in your life. Because you talk so much about the importance of a village, and it's so true. I found myself nodding my way through it, especially as, for me, I probably wouldn't have wrote books. I wouldn't have picked up the passion of doing a podcast if I wouldn't have a teacher in my life. So I know just how much the importance of them play in whatever you end up doing later on. Can I ask you more in particular about why do you think community is such a powerful voice in helping someone escape difficult circumstances that they might be going through?
Yeah, the world is hard. The world is hard. Like, you can't do this on your own. We create this weird rules that once you turn 18, you're grown, and half your brain is not even developed till you're 24, 25. We have data and science to show that we're not adults at 18.
Yeah.
It's so weird. If we allow, people to drive cars and do things at certain ages, but then you can't drink you have all these rules that's made by men most of the time, that's incompetent, that just don't make no sense, right? We're quick to push people out into the workforce would push to put pressure on minors and kids who are not ready for it, and the stress of high school, the stress of college, the debt, and all of these things that we have. And it's like, how do you survive those things, right? Like, how do you push forward? Most of our executives and CEOs are typically people who have resources, right? Who have all of these things, and they have the father who can make the phone call, and the mom who can make the phone call, the mom who may have the privilege to be a stay-at-home mom and give them the resources that they need, right? And all of this comes down to community and support. And I think at the higher level, everybody wants to tell you, I'm self-made and I did this on my own. And you try to create this arrogant illusion that it's just you, yourself, and I. And first of all, scientifically, you can't create yourself by yourself. We know that. Um, so what makes you think that when you're raised in a household, even if it's bad, there are things you learn from being in a bad household that I pray that you take over into your life, into your professional career, into other relationships, right? Somebody has to raise you for a certain amount of point. And if you don't have, unfortunately, if you don't have parents, then it's the government. There are some type of steps that you need in guidance. Everybody's born unable to care for themselves. Somebody has to change your diaper. Somebody has to feed you. We all need each other. We all need community. That's just scientifically, that's just how society was made. That's how God planned it for it to be, right? We are human beings who have different gifts. And some of the greatest things that were ever created was all due to collaboration. If you look at the most successful businesses, if you look at the most successful songs, look at some of the most successful concerts, it all takes teamwork and collaboration. That's just what it is. And that's the same thing as having community. It's collaboration. It's teamwork for one common goal, to help your neighbor, to help each other. That's the real roots of our nation. And when I say our nation, I mean the whole world, not America, not Romania, just that's the real roots of how do we come together to push society and push the world forward. And nobody can do it on their own. Everybody has a team. There's not many companies where it's just one person. It's very rare to find a very major successful company that just have one employee, right? So once you understand collaboration, once you can put ego aside, once you can see your neighbor and the people around you as your equal, and can dim down that ego, I think it just makes society a better place.
I think I see so much of you in my own mom in terms of all of the perseverance and positivity. You said in an interview that your mom used to say that as soon as she had you were with a smile on her face. What made you not give up, and what was your why? Because in the book you reference this as being your own deco is your own why. And what made you, before the Humans of New York campaign, keep going?
Yeah, I would probably say throughout my youth, I always struggled with that, right? There was little moments of, and I think that's every teenager, right? Like you find somebody, you
They
find
all
activity,
find
you find
something.
something you love, and it's like, yay. And then something happens. It's probably not that big, but you're a kid, everything, you feel like it's gonna end the world. And then now you backtrack, right? And that's the life for an adult too. You take some steps and you take some step backwards. It's just a
Success
little
is
more
not
dramatic
linear.
and crazy as a
Mhm.
teenager. And
It's
that
all
was
good.
how I was for a while, right? I don't really want to sit here and say that I had that much perspective as a young adult to know my why. But what changed for me that don't really happen for most teenagers is my senior year of high school, I became a dad. And for me, that became my why. So, I always say, especially throughout college, everybody's like, oh, you did so well. How was you such a star student? I didn't really like myself, you know, throughout college. I don't think I loved myself a lot. And I think what pushed me, and I always tell people, like, sometimes in your darkest times, I don't want to make up this BS perspective that, yes, I just always knew. No, there was so many days and dark moments where I hated everything. And I just, like, there's no way out of this. And I had the worst mindset. But when I couldn't love myself and be there for myself, I had such a strong love for this little girl that I created. And I got to look at her and watch her grow, and I got to see that smile. And I knew that, hey, you don't have to love yourself, but you love that little girl so much that you're willing to do whatever it takes to make sure she had the life she would deserve. And the only thing I could look at was in front of me, which was education. It's the only thing I had. It's the only thing I was good at. So I was like, I just follow this path and hopefully it'll lead me to make her life better. I don't know if my life is going to get better. I don't know if I'm going to be able to knock myself out of this mental health problems I'm having. But I know if I follow this path, she can at least have a chance to have a life. and she don't have to feel the way I'm feeling one day, hopefully, when she's going through this experience. And college could be fun for her, and she can party and do something stupid to make me pissed off, but at least she can be a kid, you know? So my why
Yeah.
became my daughter. My why became
Yeah.
my love for something else when I couldn't love myself. And I know it sounds harsh, but I tell some people, if you really can't knock yourself out of that mindset, who else do you love? Is your mom? Is it a brother? Is it your dog?
Mhm.
Is it your cat? Is it a friend that's just a really good friend that you really care about? And if you find with disappointing yourself, which a lot of us are, some we'll disappoint ourselves over and over, but we care about people's opinions, unfortunately, too much, and we care about our neighbors and we care about what our friends think, especially as teenagers. So if you need to use them to be the motivation to keep going for those 3 months or those dark times, you do that. Whatever it takes to get out the fire. And just trying to meet people where they're at and understanding that we're all human. None of us is perfect. Don't think because I have some followers or a book out that I'm perfect or I have this wonderful perspective on life. No, I'm growing every day and I'm still trying to figure this life out as I navigate it. So that would be my message.
It's so true because we have to find hope and faith in at least wanting to see what we're doing and that we are in fact making progress and that it is getting better and that we are advancing to some sort of end or finish line. And I think, many teenagers now feel overwhelmed with school pressure, especially I can speak from my own experience. It's been college season and applications have been opening and closing. I've been applying to universities and it's just a lot to handle and a lot to just wake up to one day and decide where you're going to go into what milestone. I think something that can really help the person listening right now, if they're also young and going through the same thing, is ask you, Jonathan, what's one practical way the person right now can stay focused on their goals, even when life is unstable or it gets a little shaky and rocky?
Just one foot in front of the other. It's really simple. I'm not going to get philosophical. One foot in front of the other. Just got to take it one day at a time. I talk a
Mm,
lot about dreaming. And I am a dreamer. I like to think 20 years out and I like to imagine myself at this event, at
mm,
this ball. But one thing as I've been learning how to build the Brooklyn Debate League and working
yeah.
alongside Deco and an amazing team is what is in front of us? What can we tackle right now? I know
Mm,
we have a 5-year plan. I know we want to graduate college, but none of that matters if I can't get through today.
yeah.
If I can't get through these next 24 hours, my dreams are gone. So every day you just got to keep working forward, keep walking forward. Don't predict about negative, stay positive. I believe your outlook on life determines how your life is going to look. If you're negative, negativity is going to happen. If you can remain positive, you got to be a little delusional to be successful in this way. You got to be. You got to be like, Sonia, I'm 17. I'm starting a podcast. I'm going to email people from all over the world. They don't know me. I don't know them. And somebody may respond. Somebody may give me the opportunity. That's called persistence. That's called dreaming. That's called putting your foot in front of the other. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure you think, hey, maybe I want to be a big time TV host. Hey, maybe you may live in this great city. I get to live in New York City one day and work on the TV sets and do amazing things. Who knows? But it starts today. It starts with interviewing people like me. It starts with creating your own platform. It starts with gaining skills. Even if this doesn't go viral, it doesn't get the views that you wanted to get, you gain
Yeah.
some skills today by getting insight, by reading the book, by even practicing as you're asking me questions. And then maybe, just maybe, 10 years from now, your dreams may be a little closer. So stay persistent, be consistent. I don't care if you're not the smartest person in the room. I have students going to Ivy Leagues every year. That's probably not just a genius but they work so hard that they get the results they need to fit the mold of any universities, right? So you just got to stay persistent, stay consistent, and focus on what's in front of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and enjoying the process, enjoying the scenery. It's really beautiful as you're going through it. Sometimes once you get to the top, you're just at the top, you already,
Yeah.
but going through that mountain and looking at the scenery and looking at this and looking at this, that's the beauty of the job.
Mhm.
Everybody wants to
Mhm.
watch a documentary because they want to see the steps. They want to see the journey. They don't care that you're at the top no more. It's how did you get there? How can I achieve that? And the only way to do that is to go through day by day.
Yes. That's why I started the podcast, to see the journey of success, to see how did you get there, because it's so easy to get intimidated by all these
Yeah.
CEOs and C executives saying they're so much high up the career ladder. How do I get there? But actually, if you trace it backwards, you'll be surprised to know that they also just started, maybe from their own kitchen with their phone, recording in their hand a solo episode,
Yep.
maybe. I can link this to the fact that you're the host of the Professional Winner podcast, that you run Conyers Media, and you also founded the Brooklyn Debate League, to ask you, how did you help young people, especially, from those that maybe don't understand communities yet, to claim their voice and to rewrite their futures?
Yeah. It's about advocacy, you know. It's about taking care of your neighbor. It's about understanding what you want for your life. And it's about going up, getting out every day and doing the work and going to get it. So,
Mhm.
part of what I do is, I say I don't try to fix broken men. We try to fix children, and going to the youth and giving them perspective, or them thinking, hey, I can't be around this person, and just being natural, my authentic selves, and putting them in environments and spaces where they're like, wow, this is amazing. And me saying, look, you with me all the time. If I'm here, why can't you be here?
Mm.
Sometimes people just need to see things. Like for me growing up, we didn't go to college campuses. We didn't get to look at college campuses. We didn't know what that was. But then when I got to see it, when I started doing debate and I got to feel and touch these things, and I was like, wow, this is reachable. That was really life changing for me. So, at the Brooklyn Debate League, what we're doing for youth is just showing them that they matter, creating safe spaces for them. I know a lot of people like to give me credit. The credit is not in me. I just create a space and the kids thrive. They was always meant to thrive. They was always brilliant. They always had these things in them. They just needed somebody to just open the door so that they can actually flourish.
Mhm.
And instead of being pulled back, or certain parts of the community or certain areas moving them in the wrong direction, we're just trying to shift them in the direction that they need guidance to be, which every youth needs. And just letting them know that they're human, letting them know that they're seen, and also tough love too. Checking them when they need to be checked, letting them know, yo, this is disappointing. Holding them to a very, very high standard that most people don't want to hold them to, because they may think less of them because of the zip code or the area they may come from. So that's one of the ways that we're creating. Conyers Media, professional podcast. We haven't shot that in a while, but we're gonna come back. We're gonna come back. Right now we've been more focused on I Wasn't Supposed to Be Here, the series, which is a series based off the book, which we're just interviewing so many different people in the community, no matter where you come from. If you've been to jail before, if you got out of jail, whether you're on TV, whether you're on reality TV, whether you're a doctor, whether you're a lawyer, interviewing all these different people from different walks of life, and letting them tell their story of how they wasn't supposed to be here and the moments they had to overcome to get to where they're at now. Some of these people are business owners. Some of these people are still trying to figure it out. But just creating a platform where everybody's stories matters, and in the process of just buying life rights and working on documentaries and doing things to actually try to tell stories and to write stories, and switch it up. So we're really in the experimental phase, trying to figure that out, trying to figure out how this media game work, but we're having a good time. And that's all that matters. We're having an amazing time. We're having an impact on people. We'll see some people's lives change because of the episodes. So it's great. It's great to see.
Mhm. Can I switch you over now to the SMARTA Podcast traditions?
Yes, let's do it.
Okay, let's do it, Jonathan. So I've got 4 questions prepared for you.
Hmm.
And the first one is a tradition where I ask the last guest, in this case, Marnie and Nick, to leave a question for the next one. And so this is the question that they left over for you. Because your career spans so many different roles, healthcare, real estate, entrepreneur, author, what's been your through line, like your core values or your compass that connects all of these roles together?
Passion. Yeah, like um my passion is not even, I would say, like real estate, media, debate. It's like my passion is creating successful things, which allows me to get to work in a different field. My passion is building things, right? It's taking something and building it and make it sustainable. My passion is adding value to others' lives and adding values to companies, right? So my goal is, no matter what I touch, I want to add
Yeah.
value. And I know I add value
Mhm.
in any sector is because the ability to fundraise, right? The ability to raise
Yeah,
money,
yeah.
the ability to raise capital, the ability to communicate, the ability to create community and safe spaces, which all creates trust, which all puts yourself in a position where people want to work with you, where people
Mm-hmm.
want to have you in their room, where people want to have you on their team. So I think when you lead with passion, when you show up and you show out, you're an asset to anybody's team. And that's my only goal in life, to continue to be an asset. So when real estate opportunities presented itself, I dived in. It worked out. I was able to be an asset, and I was able to learn and start some of my own Airbnbs. When the Brooklyn Debate League came out, not only did I have the skill of debating, but I was able to be an
Mm-hmm.
asset, and I was able to help build something amazing. And we're still building something amazing. And we got a lot more work to do, and we're excited about it. With Conyers Media, I had the ability to work with Bobby Love and help people bring books, and then now create my own book. And now I had the ability to go public speaking, and I had the ability to say, let's create YouTube, and I had the ability to buy This Life rights and start working on productions. So, just making sure you're passionate about whatever you do. Again, being delusional and thinking that you can do anything. Because it takes a little bit of craziness to say, hey, I don't know this sector, but I'll figure it out. I don't really know what's happening over there, but I'll be passionate. I'll show up every day and we'll figure it out. And knowing how to fit in where you're supposed to fit, not always trying to be in control, not stepping on nobody's toes, and knowing what your gift is and being passionate about putting it out there for any team.
Play a bigger game than you think you can, because 9 times out of 10, you will always keep surprising yourself to see how many things you're just capable of. Now, I want to take you back into time when you were my age at 17 and ask you, Jonathan, if you could talk one more time to yourself, what would be a piece of advice that could carry you through to present day?
I would probably say, get yourself off the floor. You don't realize it right now, but there's a beautiful life ahead of you out there. So you stand up and you keep walking one day at a time. Keep fighting, keep fighting.
Mhm.
I hope I will be able to tell myself that, just to make that process feel a little less harder than it had to be.
Pat on the back.
But that's what I would tell myself, is that don't forget how we got here. Even how we got to the finish line of high school is by dreaming, is knowing that there's something better out there, is knowing there's something bigger than this community in the Bronx. So that's what I would tell myself.
Yeah. And now the third question is all related to books in general.
Mm.
And I think this one is going to top up to one of my favorite books I've ever read. But I want to flip over the question to you and ask you, Jonathan, if you had to pick 2 books for the rest of your life that could transform your perspective, which would they be?
To transform your perspective, that's a good one. I got
Mhm.
probably some financial ones. I don't know if that's gonna be boring. Uh, but
No, go for it. Yeah.
Rich Dad Poor Dad for sure. And Atomic Habits, right? But those are two like big ones. Those are simple. If you just wanted like some good storytelling, some really good feel good stories, or something you think that's amazing, The Redemption of Bobby Love is an amazing book. Really, really good book. And also, I would probably say Grief is Love by Marissa
Hmm.
Lee. Um,
Hmm.
those are two books that I just think are just a great reads. That gives a lot of value just about life, forgiveness, and kind of similar to my writing
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
But if you want to grow, you want to be better financially, I think every person in the
Great
world should
books.
read Atomic Habits. Every person should read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Those are my answers. Sorry, I gave you 4 books. Look, you said 2 and I gave you one.
We doubled them. It's fine. The more the merrier. And Jonathan, because I started the podcast with you directly speaking to the listener, I want to end it in the same way. So if you had one parting idea about someone right now that maybe feels like they aren't enough, or that feels like their background is holding them back, what would you tell them?
You control your mindset. So if you tell yourself every day that you're not enough, your body's gonna take that on. Your brain is gonna believe that. It's gonna present in ways that you may not even notice, from the way you feel when you walk, from how you wake up, from how you sleep. And I would tell you that you can control your mind. Nobody knows what you're thinking but you. And you have to be your biggest hero. You have to be your
Mm-hmm.
biggest champion. And yes, sometimes you have to hold yourself accountable. Sometimes you have to be tough on yourself. But a mistake, your situation, where you're born into, your community, never defines you. So every day you have to remind yourself, even after you make a mistake, that you are enough, that you are capable of being great, that you are capable of being better, that you don't need this or you don't need that, that you're
Yeah.
more than. And I think everybody has to speak life into themselves. And if you can't do that, you can't expect others to do that. Because your confidence in who you are shines bright. A lot of people give me respect. A lot of people treat me a certain way because they see how I carry myself and how I treat myself. You're only as vulnerable as you allow people to treat you and how people view you and see you. And you have the right to push that narrative forward that you are great. You got to believe it. So that's why I would tell any young person with their back against the wall who think they're not enough. First, remind yourself that you are enough. Your situation don't define who you are. Life is just moments. And it has to be bad, it has to be good. That's how the universe balances itself out, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Jonathan Conyers, I love my time with you. It was an honor to talk with you, and I can't wait to see what you'll be doing in the future. Maybe you've teased maybe a sequel in the book at the very end. So I'll
All right,
keep
Sonya.
listening
All
to
right,
see
all right,
you.
all right. You want me to give it to you exclusively here? My second book, I Am One of You, is gonna be a graphic novel with HarperCollins Children. It should be announced any day now. But if you're listening to the Sonia Martin podcast, you heard it here. We have an amazing team. I'm so excited. This is going to be a hit. It's a graphic novel that's really going to focus just on my high school days. We have an
Yeah.
amazing illustrator that we just hired. Actually, when I hang up after I do lesson plans for class tonight, I will be doing character development with my illustrators. And yeah, so I Am One of You. It's kind of extension of I wasn't supposed to be here, but focus more to
Yeah.
middle school and high school kids about just the
Mhm.
details of my high school journey. And it's going to be cool. The illustration is going to be awesome. And I can't wait to share that with you in a year or so, right? We need some time. We got a lot of drawing and stuff to do, but we got you. We coming.
I love that. Here you got the exclusive the exclusive graphic novel. Thank you so much, and best of luck with it in the future.
Yeah, book number 2 is coming, guys. I promise. All
Just keep time. Thank you.
right. Thank you so much,
Take
Sonia. I appreciate you having me. And continue doing what you're doing on this amazing platform.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. And if you've made it this far, why don't you double check that you have subscribed to this YouTube channel, follow the show, as it keeps help us grow. It keeps helping us bring guests that are amazing and share their own life success stories with you. Now, if nobody told you this today, I want to be the first to tell you that I truly believe in your ability to create the life of your dreams.